guys, welcome back to another art lesson with the Bakersfield Museum of Art. My name is Curtis, and today we're going to be covering a project which I think is going to be really useful to you guys, and it's actually different shading techniques. Now, if you're new to drawing, you may not realize there's actually multiple different ways to shade just using a pencil on whatever it is that you're drawing. But before we jump into that project, I'd like to share a bit of information with you about an artist featured at the Bakersfield Museum of Art named Artemio Sepulveda. Artemio Sepulveda was born in the small rural town of Rodriguez Nuevo Leon, Mexico, where his passion to explore and create began at childhood. At a young age, his family moved to Mexico City, and Sepulveda became an apprentice for an ironworks company where he learned the basics of drawing and design. As an adult, Sepulveda embraced neo-figurative art, which emerged in the 1960s in Argentina, Mexico, and Spain to represent a new form of figurative art. This particular piece, entitled Lady with Gloves, is part of the BMoA permanent collection. It is an excellent example of the lesson we're going to be learning today, as it encompasses several forms of shading. We won't need many supplies for this project. You just need a pencil, paper, and eraser, and I want you to start out by drawing 6 circles on your paper. Now, the first form of shading I want to show you is called horizontal hatching, and we're going to do this by just making quick dash-like lines, starting from the left side of our circle, extending to the right side, and we're going to go about halfway, maybe a little bit over. You can even overlap the boundaries of your circle. That's fine, because we can just go back and erase later. And we're just actually going to be layering these horizontal dashes or sketch marks. As we layer our hatch marks, we're going to want to layer them more densely the closer we get to the left side. If you can imagine it, imagine a light source is coming from the right side, so the right side is going to be more illuminated than the left side of our sphere. And go ahead and erase just the little marks that we did over that. And we have a nicely shaded sphere using horizontal hatching. Now in our next circle, we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're going to be using vertical lines. So this is of course called vertical hatching, and just like the first sphere, we're going to use our vertical lines to create shading. Again, as if the light source was coming from the right-hand side. So we want those lines on the left-hand side of our sphere to be more dense. And we can go ahead and clean up the sides of our sphere here. And of course, remember that this is just practice, so no need to be super clean or anything like that. You can always go back in and redraw some lines, anything that you may have accidentally erased. And continue shading until you feel satisfied. Now for this particular sphere, we're actually going to be doing what's called cross-hatching, which is a combination of both horizontal and vertical lines. Each of these different shading styles is very fundamental to drawing and sketching, and each one really has its place in helping you dictate to the viewer of your art where the light is coming from. Also, it can be used to show texture in your pieces. For example, this cross-hatching shading style always reminds me of cloth, so I tend to use this a lot on if I'm drawing someone wearing garments or clothing or anything. Cross-hatching is usually a really great way to depict cloth. Now, these first 3 forms of shading are pretty straightforward. You'll see them a lot. But the next 3 are pretty unique and a lot of fun. Now, the next type of shading I want to talk to you about is called stippling. And so what stippling is making a rapid series of dots. And of course, this is going to be just like the previous circles, in which we made things a little bit more dense on the left-hand side, showing the light source coming from the right-hand side. But stippling is a little bit time-consuming, but it does give you a really cool effect. A lot of people use it for making things look like stone. Now, this next form of shading is called scumbling, and what I want you to do is, without even picking your pencil up, I want you to make a series of concentric circles, And what this is going to do is it's actually going to give you a lot of control over your shading, and it's also going to hide your pencil markings. So it kind of forms this interesting pattern, and you just kind of layer more scumbling over each other to create that nice shading. This technique can also help you convey texture, things that are furry or maybe like a ball of yarn or something. Looks really good when you use scumbling. Now for our final form of shading that I want to show you, I want to show you what's called smudging, also known as blending. To do this, we first need to put down some graphite within our circle, and then we're going to take our finger and we're actually just going to smudge it from left to right, creating a nice smooth form of shading inside our circle. This can be a little bit messy, so you're also welcome to use what's called a smudge stick, and I can show you one of those just in a moment. And just like with the other forms of shading, you're going to add more graphite to the left-hand side of the circle, and go ahead and smudge it to the right-hand side, and this is going to darken up the sides of our circle going from left to right. Now, if you don't want to smudge with your finger, you can make what's called a smudge stick really easily. Just take a square of paper and roll it into a cone. Try and roll it as densely as possible, and using this, you can continue to smudge your work. Continue to add layers of graphite as you see fit, and you can get a really nice smooth shade using either your finger or smudge stick. Now for the final portion of our project, I want us to go ahead and add some shading underneath each of our spheres, but I want you to use a different type of shading for each sphere. So for example, I'm using vertical hatching for the sphere that I used horizontal hatching in, and I'm using horizontal hatching in the sphere that I used vertical hatching in, and so on and so forth. Adding shading underneath each of our circles is going to give it a more complete look and give it that 3D effect that we're looking for. So what do you guys think? I certainly hope you got a lot out of this lesson, and I would encourage you to really get creative with your shading. Keep practicing, because you can really do a lot with it. I want to thank you once again for joining us here at the Bakersfield Museum of Art for another art lesson, and we'll hopefully see you next time. Have a great day.